Welcome to the Own It Powercast, the place to be when you get serious about making big changes and accelerating growth in your life and in your relationships. Finally create the life you've always wanted, living life on your own terms. Learn how to take your fear and turn it into powerful choices that will create sustained change. Now your host, Mary Baker.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Own It Powercast, a place where you can come to get what you need to move yourself forward. Hey, it's Mary Baker, and welcome to episode 76. The hope is in the work. So this month, it's all about finding and focusing on what brings us hope. As the holidays are here for many of us, and with the pandemic and all the economic issues getting worse, I don't think there is a better topic to focus on right now, in fact. So all month, we will be exploring the concept of how hope is in the work, which I think makes getting healthier, having better relationships more possible, because it returns the power back to you, hence the ability to have hope even when things are difficult. So hope is defined as a feeling of expectation and desire for a certain thing to happen. What's interesting is the old meaning for hope, the archaic meaning, is a feeling of trust. So there are actually some really great benefits to being hopeful, ones we may not be aware of. The biggest one is hope keeps you going, right? I mean, life's going to show up. Life is going to throw difficulty at us, each of us and all of us. But it keeps you going because just like the acronym for hope means hold on, pain ends, it means that the difficulty is time limited. It's for right now, and it can be better tomorrow. So if we didn't have hope, the things would be better, then why bother? The opposite of hope is a sense of hopelessness, which is a very difficult place to be. The other big benefit of choosing, I think, to have hope, holding on to hope and cultivating hope, is that it helps you become more resilient, and resilience is a big deal. We could talk all day just about that topic. Being more resilient means we can handle life. We can handle what comes at us and bounce back and maybe even become better because of it. Learning from it, growing from it, choosing from it, reorienting our life because maybe, like we talked about in previous episodes, our priorities may shift because of something that happens to us. A big part of self-esteem is having resilience, because it builds confidence when you know that you can do something to create a better life, that you can solve problems, that you can come back from whatever just came at you. Hope also helps you get to the solution much faster. Not to say you don't have your feelings around whatever you're sitting in, but it helps you to use your brain, therefore, to find solutions and not stay miserable and stuck in the problem and not feel like you have any healthy control over the choices that you have. I think it also motivates us to do much better, much faster, because when you're sitting in pain, pain is an incredible motivator. We're either moving away from pain desperately or moving towards pleasure. Moving away from pain, the research shows, is a hell of a lot more powerful because we are sitting in the reality. We know what we don't want. We know what we want to make better. I also think it helps you look at reality, because reality is a mixed bag. It's not all good or all bad. That's fantasy and that's immaturity. I think it is essential for creating self-worth and self-esteem, because if you don't think you're efficacious, it's going to be very difficult for you to believe in yourself. If you don't think you can problem solve, it's going to be difficult to find your way out of the hole. I think having hope tremendously reduces our anxiety, because we get into the solution and we see that things can actually be better, especially if hope is in the work, which is what we're going to be talking about this month. So if you have awful relationships, then you start doing the work to find out why first, why you draw certain people to you, what are your behaviors that aren't terribly healthy. Then you start making changes, and the changes are what helps to ensure better relationships down the road. And that is reality-based. It's not fantasy. It's not based on your wishes or just your dreams of having better relationships. It's logic and it's math. Folks who have healthier relationships are healthier people. They behave healthier. They approach relationships very differently. I think being hopeful and more positive can help your relationships as well, just in general, because it's not as difficult to be around you because you're not feeling as miserable or thinking that everything is a problem and that you don't have any personal power or any choices in your life. Another benefit of having hope is it helps us be more mature and patient and maybe not quit at the first disappointment, which is not easy to do sometimes. We set our expectations up there really high, and then we're disappointed. We feel deflated, and we can sit in some immaturity and some black and white thinking, as opposed to the gray, saying, okay, well, now what can we do about it? Having hope means choosing not to give up. And therefore, again, we're much nicer to be around because people in our life can see us, yes, have our feelings and our disappointment, but we don't wallow in it, we don't lash out at people, and we don't act out and stomp our feet and have a tantrum. Or dig our heels in and say, well, I'm not doing anything then. That's what little kids do because they don't know. They don't feel empowered enough, they don't have enough life experience or problem-solving skills, so they shut down. Another great benefit of being more hopeful is physically, because being more hopeful and more positive physically can boost our circulation. It's better for our heart. Your immune system benefits tremendously because I think if we catastrophize all the time, boy, we're in fight or flight. And we're not supposed to be in fight or flight in a chronic way. That's supposed to be momentary, and the rest of the time our body is healing and settling down and being calm and quiet. And so if we're in fight or flight all the time, all the stress hormones are wreaking havoc on our health, and we know that. So if you choose to be more hopeful and optimistic, it can really help your health. And also, it's interesting, some of the research shows that our perception of pain may not be as bad, because when we catastrophize, we can make the pain, the actual physical pain, seem worse. So those are some benefits of having hope. I'm sure there are plenty more, but those were some that really stood out for me. Again, I think the biggest one is becoming more resilient, taking on life's challenges with a little more positivity, not being unrealistic, but just choosing to get into the solution a lot faster. What hope is not is denial. It's not about not accepting reality. It's not about putting your head back in the sand, kicking the can, procrastinating on what needs to be done, because that's a choice. It is acceptance of what is, I think, and yet finding a way to look at it differently, to look at it more balanced. Maybe it's not all bad. The reality is there, and now what can I do about it? So it's acceptance first, then choosing. So one of the first things we're going to talk about this month in regards to hope is taking stock. The end of the year is a good time for us to look back, and yes, I know 2020 was hell, but to look back individually for ourselves, and what have we learned? What are we learning? Where are you? What are you struggling with? Like if you take a moment right now and look around at your life, look at the different areas that we often talk about. Okay, your personal, emotional, mental health, where is that? Given the circumstances, we're all struggling, but where are you? And why do you think that is? Where are your relationships? How healthy and nurturing and loving and growing are they? Or are they toxic? What about your career choices? What about work? What about finding meaningful work? Where are you? Do you have goals? Do you want to make some changes in 2021? Do you want to go back to school? Do you want to just become happier with the work that you have? Do you want to look at your home environment, your physical environment? Are there changes you want to make there? How have you been doing with that? Do you need to reorganize your home? Do you need to move? Do you need to downsize? Where are your finances? Taking a look at that and seeing where you want to make some changes. And looking at your self-care, where is that? Are you taking care of your physical health? Are you getting things done? Are you having downtime and rest and play as much as you can? And then what other big dreams are you looking at to start making happen in 2021? Maybe things that you've put on the back burner because you've been so busy taking care of everybody else, or have been in survival mode for the past 9 months like most of us have. So taking stock of where you are now, as you hear me say often, this is not the time to beat yourself up, especially given the external circumstances that we've all been walking through. We need to lower our expectations. Not to deny, maybe we've let some things go by the wayside, maybe we have procrastinated on some things. So taking a realistic assessment, a loving assessment, but an honest one and a compassionate one. So really sitting and, as busy as the holiday season is, taking moments for yourself to get quiet so that the perceptions will come and things will reveal themselves to you. The other thing we're going to get into this month is a Q&A episode with Margaret Williams, the life and career coach that I had on several episodes ago. So many of you told me you really enjoyed what she had to say. So we're going to be taking your questions in regard to year-end assessment, getting motivated, and cultivating hope in your life. So hit me up on social or email me. Go right to the show notes and email me there and let me know. What are some questions you would like to have answered and or some struggles that you have with this topic? And we would love to talk about them in the next episode. So we're going to be doing that as well. Another area for finding hope and cultivating hope is doing the deeper work, and that is the deeper work on finding forgiveness and acceptance. Forgiveness and acceptance for others, for circumstances. I mean, COVID in of itself is a great example because it has created a ripple effect of loss and change for so many of us. And we are grieving. And so coming to acceptance is kicking and screaming to acceptance. It's not easy. It's very deep work. It's grief work. Surrendering is another good term. Surrendering to what is. And then maybe turning it all over to some kind of force that's out there that's bigger than you. Finding forgiveness and acceptance. We're also going to talk about grabbing the context. You've heard me go into that before. It is so important. For yourself. Why did you struggle? Why did you do what you did? Or why didn't you do what you wish you had? Looking at your part in struggles with other people rather than protracted grief where we stay pissed at someone, focusing only on what they did or didn't do that we wished was different. Looking at our own part. How could we have done things differently, perhaps? Now that we know better, now that we know more, now that we're away from it and we have hindsight. If we do not do the deeper work of grieving and forgiveness and acceptance, we will not be able to create and sustain any real change. It will always come up and sabotage any positive work that we really want to do. It will be in the way. It will hold us back. For one thing, it'll hold us back from letting go and being vulnerable, right? And trusting and being able to do things differently. I've seen it really subdue one's creativity. We know that it keeps us from feeling any big emotions, whether it's pain or joy, because we're so busy protecting ourselves. When we don't grieve, we live on the surface. We live in control, usually. We're so focused on doing and going and the future that we're not spending time being, because if we sit and be, we have to sit in feelings we don't want to feel. We have to sit in loss and reality that we are afraid will swallow us. The other thing is that it can be so wrapped up in self-loathing and shame and guilt, whether it be earned or unearned. Because if you don't deep down believe you deserve it, how in the world are you going to have hope that things can or even should be better for you? And this may not be on a conscious level. I think most of us would struggle to admit that out loud. But boy, it can be there driving the bus. That's what we call those core beliefs. Just because you're not aware of them doesn't mean they're not driving. And we need a support system, you always hear me say, in order to do this very deep and vulnerable work. If you don't have that, like 2 or 3 people in your life who can hold you up while you kind of surrender a little bit, do the footwork to find that first. If you have folks that you just need to come clean and let them know, hey, I need to do some deep work, find a therapist or a coach if you need to walk through some things. And fourth, we're going to then finish out the month by creating a plan for the coming year, as per usual. And I want you to think all this month about, it's all about what you choose. You hear me say that all the time. But it does really boil down to that. It isn't about anybody else at the end of the day. It's about what you choose. And you can choose to be happy. You can choose to look at where the real struggles are. You can choose to really have the courage to focus on, okay, what needs to change? That episode, we're going to create an overarching goal or theme for the first quarter of 2021 for yourself. And then we're going to work on chunking it down to smaller, more manageable, realistic steps. And we're going to talk about starting where you are. And then creating a plan to maintain and sustain. It's no good if it's not sustainable. Then it's a 2-week flirtation with fantasy. We've all been there. I think that diminishes our self-esteem. When we start out gung-ho, but we don't commit to it. Because if you don't commit to something, it's not real. It's a whim. It's something, maybe you feel like doing until it gets hard or it gets boring. Or you have to maintain it, or you have to say no to other things, right? Getting physically healthier comes to mind. You have to say no to the carbs. You have to get up early and go for a run when it's cold out. You have to do things. You have to set boundaries. And maintaining boundaries is hard. In the beginning, we're so full of adrenaline and we're all hopeful and gung-ho and unrealistic. It's easy. It's easy to show up and do it. But it gets real in the middle. And the middle is the time where we either throw in the towel or we keep going. So the hope is in the work, and that's what we're going to get into this month. And first things first, we have to be glued together enough to do the work. And so if you feel like you're a mess and you're harried and you're stressed out, self-care first, then you can tackle the rest of this. First things first, look at the boundaries. Look at your habits. Everything boils down to habits. We know that now. Habits will make or break your chance for sustained success in the coming year. It all boils down to what you do every day, all the little things that you think may not make a difference. For example, whether you wake up early enough to make time to work out, and that assumes you went to bed early. Do you see the dominoes falling? Or whether you stop spending to save for the future, and therefore whether you practice saying no to yourself to stop the spending. So we want to look at the end goal and, to be able to do this stuff and keep working those dominoes back and find out what the real culprits are. 9 times out of 10, they're going to be boundary issues, like you hear me say. And sometimes it's just boundaries with ourselves. Self-care is about practicing saying no to ourselves. No, you can't do any more work today. You're tired. No, you can't spend any more money if you want to save. Put the donut down. You want to get healthier. So the hope is in the work. Because if you do the work, if you create better self-discipline, like we just talked about, you're going to feel better. And you're going to feel more confident. You're going to feel more grounded. You're going to be a lot less anxious. The hope is in the work in terms of your financial plans. Do the work, put the money away, get the budget together, go get another job to make more money, whatever you need to do to start working towards those goals. That will give you hope that things can get better. There's the old story where the guy threw the donkey down the well and he went to shovel dirt in it to bury him, but every time he would throw a shovel full of dirt in, the donkey would step on it. And then he'd step on the next one, and the next one, and the next one, and eventually he was out of the hole. The hope is in the work. And the steps are the ones that you are going to take this month and identify what really needs to change. What do you need to do in order to change it? Who needs to help you change it? And getting that plan together, I think, reduces our fear. It gives us a sense of purpose. It helps us feel powerful in a healthy way. It helps us feel motivated and look forward to things and look toward things. I think we are honoring ourselves because we know we want to change things, and by not doing anything towards that lowers our self-esteem. So if we start witnessing ourselves taking steps, it's going to feel better. You're going to have greater self-trust. You're going to therefore have more hope, because if you can begin to trust yourself more, you don't have to be at the whim of the world, of other people's behavior, of events happening, of huge changes coming at you that you did not ask for. Your focus is going to be on your internal locus of control. So today we talked about how all month we're going to get into the concept of cultivating hope, which is so needed right now for most of us. All month we will be exploring the concept that the hope is in the work you do for yourself and on yourself, the better you that you are building. It really, really does change our lives for the better. And that's why I think it can bring hope. It makes things you want to have for yourself actually possible and doable. So thank you for joining me today. May you stay healthy, stay hopeful and grounded, stay safe out there. Focus on the good in yourself and in others. Be sure to check the show notes at ownitpowercast.com. Sign up for the newsletter that comes out each Tuesday. And please check me out and follow me on social. And let me know what questions you would like to have asked this month on our Q&A with Margaret. All right, so pay it forward. Keep focusing on you. And I'll see you next time.
We hope you took away some useful insights and tools you could begin using right away. If you did, please leave a positive review and share on your social media. Because could you imagine if everyone in your life really got it together? Remember, own it now, so you can really own it later.